I have to be honest with you guys. I did not realize how fucking hard multi-cameras would be for fucking answering questions. Because I was like, why aren't they answering? But I realized you guys are just like waiting for someone else to say something first. I was like, oh fuck, like that's what's happening. I was like, you guys can say something. But, oh my God. Now I know. Episode of Not-So Impromptu Interviews. It is the first interview of 2021. We made it out of 2020. Let's give a round of applause for the people off screen right now that are hearing me. All right. So then today on our first interview, we have the incredible, the amazing, my best friends in the whole entire world. It's Street Play. Welcome, Street Play. How are you guys doing today?
Hi. Doing good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Sam.
Yeah, of course. So first off, I just want to touch base with you guys real quick. How has 2021 treated you so far in terms of the new year? It's not 2020 anymore, and we're kind of used to this new lifestyle of quarantine.
I think it's been good. I don't know. I feel like this year has been a little more like chaotic than last year. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but I feel like it just happened to have been like very, very busy in a lot of ways, which has been good. Even though I know that like it's kind of arbitrary, like a new year or whatever, it does feel like a new beginning. And I think like going into this year, I'm more like prepared for, I don't know, like I know how the pandemic has been going, and so it feels good. I feel like I can start this year strong, you know?
Mm-hmm. Jenna?
I totally agree with Raz. And I think also as a band, we've been off to a pretty productive start, which has been great and feels good. And I hope that we can like continue it as much as we can with circumstances throughout this year.
Jake, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, both of what they said is super accurate. It has felt a little more chaotic. I think the shift was like either not enough or too much for some people. And I think that's a little jarring. So like, seeing that a lot of things didn't end with 2020 like is kind of terrifying. And then I don't know, I think it is like a new beginning to a certain extent, like to restructure things and get comfy again, or try to decipher what normal can be now. So yeah, it feels good. I'm feeling good. I'm excited for stuff. So that's the biggest upside of all.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as long as personally you guys are okay, I think that's all that matters. But we are here to talk about music, obviously, for the most part. I just want to get it right off the bat. So, am I pronouncing this right? Lycanthropy? I had to like type it out like on the screen. I put like anthropy. So I just want to make sure. Am I saying that right? I don't want to butcher your. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope we're right. I think we're right.
I know.
Right. Like I had to Google it. I had to like listen to the Google speaker. I don't really know how to pronounce these kind of. I don't. Is it like English? I don't even know what it is. It's European,
it's
right?
Like it's a Latin term. Yeah. It's like like Latin.
Latin. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not Latin, so I didn't know how the fuck to do any of that. But anyways, so that's your first single that's going to be coming out this new year for whatever that new project will be. And as someone who not only is super close to all of you, I'm also someone who has seen almost all of Street Play shows, especially like this form of Street Play, especially within the last couple of years. So I know you guys have had this song out for a while, and when I first heard that intro, which is a complete different intro than what I'm used to, but then that dedicated intro that we've all heard, it kind of made me feel like I was back in like a little sweaty DIY club. I was like, oh yeah. Like now I remember what it was like Friday nights, like going to the Smell, seeing Street Play. Like I remember hearing that intro. So I just want to know, like, how does it feel to finally have a finished and recorded version of this song?
It feels really good. I mean, I think it's like with any song, it's just cool to hear something that we've created together, like come to life. And we're really excited to be releasing it on the first full moon of the year because it goes hand in hand with the werewolf theme. Right. But it means so much to hear to hear you say that, it brings you back to that, because that's all we're trying to do right now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I just like, I've heard, I don't know how long you guys have had this song, but I remember it's been at least a year or two before this is going to be coming out. I don't know when this interview is coming out because I'm not professional in my due dates, but you know, when this interview does come out, I'm sure this song will be out. But you know, like for anyone who has known you guys for a while, they've heard the song if they've been to a show of yours. So do you guys feel like having this song out now recorded is going to change how people view this song or listen to this song in any way?
Well, I think like on some levels, I feel like Lycanthropy is a part of, even though we've been playing it for a long time, I think it is a part of our like new music. And like, although the sound isn't like dramatically different from Sirens, I think it does have like a new essence and like a new, like new themes and things like that. And so I'm just excited for people to be able to hear what we've been working on since Sirens, and to have something like out in the world that people can like listen to consistently, that I think is kind of more in line with the direction we've been going these days. So yeah, I think I'm just excited to have it out, because it'll, I don't know, I feel like it's very true to who we are right now, you know what I mean, like our artistic mindset and everything like that. I don't know if I answered the question. What was the question?
No, you did. I mean, does anyone have anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it changes the way people hear the song. I think we have like a running pattern now of like, I think like the longest songs that we've been sitting on are like usually the first we release. Like they've been cooking the longest, so we got to get them out of the pot. So yeah, I hope it gives like people a new respect and like puts in a new you know, atmosphere for them to jump into, because if it is transportive to like a club or something, I think that's like the greatest thing we could do for anyone right now.
Totally.
Besides just giving them something to like jam on in their car or something, you know, like any chance of escapism is awesome.
Totally. You know, and because you bring up, Jake, that you guys have had a couple songs in the works for a while now, is there any particular reason why this song was chosen as the single debut for what'll eventually be the new project, since you do have other songs that you could have released? Is this something that will probably give people a good indication of how the rest of the project will sound?
I think yeah, I don't know, there tends to be just this thing of certain songs just kind of stand out, like they give off the best impression, like they swagger into the room like a little heavier than the rest, you know, like
Sure.
And so I think this song, I think because it has been in the repertoire for so long, and just because we when we cut it, like we cut it in like 2 takes or something, and then we were like, oh, that sounds good, like just like as it is. So then it just kind of kept getting better, and it just kept falling to the forefront of songs that we were like, okay, this could really be like the opening of the gate to the record, you know. So yeah, it just happened. Sometimes that's like the best thing, is when something just kind of falls in your lap like that.
Anyone?
Yeah. I also feel like, I mean, the song definitely, like Jake said, it stood out to us when we first did the take. Sorry, there's a huge
No, you're good. Los Angeles, baby.
Los Angeles, yeah. So yeah, and I think it also alludes to a lot of what we identified with this new album. There are even lyrics in it that relate to hopefully what we're thinking of the title of the album. So I think Lycanthropy was a great gateway to what we're working on now, and kind of a peep at the music that we're going to be coming out with soon. And we have to credit Emilio. He's done an amazing job with us on this project.
Praise to Emilio from
yeah.
Trigger, yes.
And it's been a great experience with him. Like we work so efficiently together. And it's a great environment. It's, you know, in his home, so it feels very close. So we've loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to add, if that's cool.
Yeah, please. No,
I also
please.
think because like it's been in our repertoire for so long, I feel like being able to get it out, it's it's like an interesting transition between like Sirens and then, because it's been around since then, but it's also a good transition into like our new stuff that we haven't, like some of the songs we haven't even been able to play live because they're so new, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And so I think it'll be a good I don't know, just like a transition into the new street play 2021.
Is this kind of like the rollout you guys would have had for this song, or do you think having this new lifestyle of quarantine, no shows, kind of really affected how this song would eventually be dropped?
I think we definitely wanted to share something just because we had kind of, you know, gone into our cave of recording and creating, and we wanted to connect with the scene more, and I think that did kind of push us to release it sooner and to, you know, share with what we've been creating. So I think it did have a contributing factor to the pandemic for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the fact that you guys now can't really play the song live, now that people will kind of have more of a sense of what the lyrics are, what the song's called. I mean, I love you guys. I had no idea what the song was called, and I've heard the song before. So I don't know if it was the fact that I just never asked or I never heard you guys say it, but knowing what the song is now I can be like, yo, like play this song now. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's odd for a lot of bands now that it's like when you're releasing music now, that hype that people will have, both bands and fans, can't like look forward to a song like that right now. Do you guys think that this hype will kind of just jumpstart like nothing happened once shows start, or do you think it's going to be more of a like slow transition into being like, fuck, like what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what do we do? I forgot what to do. You know what I mean?
You know, it's I have to think, like, I have to hope that there's going to be some sort of like renaissance when we come out of this, because I mean, I kind of sound, it's like the Pepe Sylvia in It's Always Sunny. Like I feel like I'm just like making conspiracy theories, like so this, like I like just like shaking and like, because I want that so bad, you know, like to come out of this and like have a new appreciation and like reinvigoration of local music. And so I'm holding out hope that that's reality. It's just it's in the books. Like we just got to wait for the date. Like we're just waiting on the date. So I'm hoping that will be something that happens, because we won't have like stadium shows till next summer. So if we get our shit together, like we could actually like have this like really beautiful like reemergence of art, like for people to enjoy. And even if they don't even like it, that's like the only thing you got, so you better enjoy it, you know?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah,
totally. You know, oh yeah, no, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think also like, I don't know, at least in like the local music scene, I'm sure this like applies to like larger communities as well. I mean, I think just like the nature of music and sharing music and experiencing it together is just completely changed because everything is online, obviously. And so I think like releasing a single online where it's something that like, you know, it's on all streaming platforms and everything like that, it's the closest way you can get to like a community experience, you know what I mean? Where like everyone can experience the same thing, you know, like even if it's just a recording. So I'm hoping that, I mean, like whenever shows come back, because I really genuinely have no idea when that'll be, I'm hoping that our time, like where we independently were able to like consume the same music, will lead to like a greater discussion or like hype when we're able to experience it the way that like, you know, music is kind of intended to, which is like live and all together and in a community, if that makes sense. Like
totally
it's almost like we're just working with what we've been given right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with the way it came out, because I think quarantine gave us more time to think about like what we wanted the production to be like and things like that, and how we wanted it to differ from Sirens and what direction we wanted to go in with that. So I'm grateful for the way it turned out, honestly. Like I'm very proud, and I'm proud of Jake and Shanna and Emilio and everyone. And
yeah, it was such like a beautiful team effort, like in the creation of it. And I think even like in quarantine, we were still like sending mixes and stuff, you know, like we were always doing stuff under the table, which I think like kept it exciting for us. Like that, I mean, aspects of the process had to stop for safety and all that, but like not everything had to stop. Like we could still like send ideas and get mixes and think of new things we wanted to add or new directions to go in, like Raz was saying. So yeah, and I think like giving it at like this time in particular, like eventually, you know, songs get known in your repertoire, and eventually like people learn the lyrics. So like this to me is like, hopefully like people can like enjoy it and like learn the lyrics. And then so like when we like start almost like at the same place we would have if we were playing shows, you know, like where people are familiar and like can get excited or like want to go see you for this reason, you know, like that there still is this new thing propelling you forward.
Yeah, I also think right at the end when we were still playing shows before we started the album process, we did kind of start to introduce our newer stuff, and the reaction was a bit hesitant, I think, because it is a shift in Sirens, just like any album would be.
Of course.
And I think that maybe releasing it during this time and having people digest it and know the lyrics and maybe sit with it more, it could build hype for shows and have something that people can connect to during this weird time. Like they remember listening to this song during 2021 or, you know, whenever we get it done.
Sure.
So I think it could be a great transition. Because even in the live setting, it was a little rocky.
Right. You know, you guys brought up really good points that I didn't even think about. The fact that it's like this time can actually be used to, one, take some pressure off for bands to meet due dates, especially, you know, like local bands around our status level. No one's ever really pushing a deadline unless you yourself set it. But now even more so when we're not really seeing each other, there's no pressure to have new songs out to play shows. You guys really did bring up a good point. That's like, yeah, now you can actually like sit down, figure out how you want to process certain songs, how you want to record them, what comes out first, and then having fans listen to it for a while. Hopefully, you know, they do actually know the song well enough to get hyped for it at the show. So yeah, you know, I never thought of it that way. So that was a good point that you guys brought up for this new next year of no shows, having to do other stuff in the meantime. I do want to touch on Lycanthropy singular for a second. Diving face value on like what the song is after a quick Google search, because yes, I was the one who had to do that for myself. It's obviously you guys are sticking with the mythical creatures theme with this single. Like you guys have been pointing out, you know, you originally did Sirens, which for those who don't know is a mythical creature usually in the form of, I assume people would say mermaids or females in water or wherever sorts, lure sailors in with their looks, their singing voice, and then, you know, like get them. For lack of a better term, you know, that's just straight from Google. So I don't know if that's exactly right, but you know where I'm getting with it. But now, like, yeah, exactly. With Lycanthropy, we're dealing with the supernatural transformation of someone turning into a wolf, aka werewolves. So what I just want to know, what's the intention of using these mythical creatures to tell your stories through these songs? Are there like underlying connections to what you guys go through in real life and then making it into more of a fantasy like story? Or is it purely just storytelling like any other thing with the mythical creatures?
I think it's something we always like to bring up in our songs. We're really inspired by horror movies and horror stories, and using that dark theme to portray life experiences and emotions that we all feel. And it's kind of a more adventurous way of navigating those emotions. And I think it's something the three of us are all super interested in. So in a way, it can be easier to use those stories as kind of like the skeleton of what we want the song to be about, Raz wrote the lyrics, so maybe she can touch upon what that meant to her. But yeah.
Yeah, originally it was a cool process, like writing the song, because I remember Jenna wrote the bound, like the riff, and then
Yeah.
I want to say we were like jamming on it, and I remember I was like, wait, I have like the perfect poem for this, and I had written the lyrics like as they are like today, and they just like happened to fit perfectly. And I think in writing the lyrics, I mean, I think like what Jenna said, like it always starts with the like the skeleton is like based in some sort of like mythology or like horror specifically. And I think I was just like playing around with the idea of like a relationship with someone who maybe is, I don't know, like, how do I explain this? It's like the multiple sides of a person that you can deal with, you know. And I think with Lycanthropy specifically, and like the narrator, it's about one's like the way you kind of like understand that sort of person, and like how you understand the different sides of a person. Like I don't know, with the lyrics, I'm sorry, this is so I hadn't thought about this.
No, go off the dome,
okay.
dome.
I think like with the lyrics where it's like, I loved him all but once per month, and then like when he leaves for the dark, and how you know that he isn't there if he were to like, you know, hurt you or something like that. I think it's just the way that we can like intellectualize or like kind of make sense of like a person's swings, whether they be like up or down, and how you can kind of see through someone despite what they might present to you or go through. And I just think everyone has the ability to be really multifaceted and like in the way they present themselves and the way they feel. And I think everyone has like the shadow self and things like that. And so I just kind of wanted to explore that. And I thought that the way that like Jenna performs it is very like, it really encapsulates that. And I think also having us both like sing in different verses was a cool side to that as well, because then there's like multiple perspectives on the same thing. Like we talk about the hunters, or I talk about the hunters, and Jenna focuses on the like the character. And I don't know, I think both in like the production, the lyrics, and the way we perform it, we can talk about the different sides of a person, and maybe a mythological character to represent that.
So yeah. Was it more like no, it made perfect sense. I just want to know, like, in terms of most of Street Play's songwriting process, when it comes down to like lyrics, I don't know who would be able to answer this in terms of like Jenna or Raz, but is it more of you first start off with this idea of what you go through or what people go through in life, and then being like, oh shit, like vampires do this shit all the time, or oh shit, like sirens do this shit all the time? Or is it more like, oh shit, I love this fucking monster ass motherfucker eating people shit, but wait a second, they're like really humanistic, and like I just dealt with that just last night with this fuck boy who just like threw me out last, or you know what I mean? Like, is it more of like it happens when it happens, or is it more like, oh shit, we just watched this movie and now I'm inspired?
I think it can be either. I, at least for myself, I feel like certain emotions, situations, experiences come up, and you feel strongly enough that you want to share, you want to express it with your art form. I think the dark side and the mythical side, it comes out pretty naturally for us, because it's been something we're always like super into. And we always just find more interest in it, and kind of more passionate about it, because it's our own original way of expressing those emotions. But then again, it can also be like we all had like a band night where we watched Dracula, and it like totally inspired like several songs, because but I also
absolutely,
it could be like us being together and like having all these thoughts and connections with a story, and being like, oh my god, I just went through that. And like I think that can happen to anyone with, you know, different types of art. You connect with it in the way that you recently have felt, which is different for everyone. But yeah, I think it can be either.
I completely agree, honestly. And then also I think sometimes it's literally so like dumb, like bimbo. I'm like, I wonder what it would be like to date a vampire, or like,
yeah.
And then I just like, write about it, like, or think about it for a while, and I'm like, oh, like actually, I think I have experienced something like that. Like maybe not even like in dating, or just like maybe like I've met someone who's like that, and how I can see them like in this creature or something like that. So yeah, I think it's just fun to draw those parallels, and it just makes things really interesting. And I think symbols like are just so universal all the time. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but I really love like looking at symbols in like different cultures and things like that, and the way that people like, I don't know, find these meanings and in something that's sort of everyday. Like I don't know. It's really cool.
Since Jenna and Raz are basically the two songwriters when it comes to lyrics, Jake, I want to ask you, like, when I know drummers get to answer questions too now. Yeah. So I just want to know, because, you know, as a drummer myself, who sometimes didn't write the lyrics, when lyrics are being written, you're not always part of the process. You're kind of thrown in once the music part happens. So, you know, when Jenna and Raz are writing songs about werewolves, at face value, you're just like, oh shit, this is a song about werewolves, but like it actually has more meaning. Do you automatically connect with the lyrics that they wrote, or is it more like I need to understand what they're going through when the music's written out before I can add my own piece into it?
It's a good question. I think, well, we're a very like open band. Like we have discussions. Like it's not really like you know, like church and state. Like it's all the same thing. You know, like we talk about stuff. So I don't know. Usually lyrics are like, more often than not, like there are moments where like there's a writing process for lyrics. Like there's like, we go line by line. Like sometimes, like we have songs now that we're like building from scratch, where it's like, okay, well we need another verse, and so on and so forth. But sometimes, like Rat said, like there's like just this poem that like just like clicks in perfectly, and kind of takes on the atmosphere of the song and like creates the mood we're trying to go for. So I definitely like hearing it have like a context. Like I like hearing where the song is going thematically. Like I think, because for this band in particular, I try to play more thematically and like a little more, I don't know, I try to keep it on the groovier side and like less like noisy and stuff. Like I like keeping it contained, because it gives room for things to grow and like become what they can be. Because the lyrics like oftentimes like have like these great crescendos, and the melodies more than anything I think are what I get attached to, like, and hearing how things get mixed together. I don't know if that answered the question at all. Kind of
definitely did.
But,
no, definitely it did. The reason why I ask is because when lyrics are being focused on for songs, especially when interviewers are asking that, it's hard for someone who isn't writing the lyrics to be able to express how they relate to the song. And so I think it's interesting to make sure that we understand that it's a whole band's progress in building the song up. So even when they didn't have any input on lyrics most of the time, there's still a huge part of the musical background that builds the song and the feeling of it. So, you know, what you said exactly totally makes sense. But I wanted to make sure in this interview we touch on that, because, you know, a lot of people do put Jake as a very symbolic feature of street play, because I mean, it's Jake, Jenna, Raz. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just focus on what Jenna and Raz sing, because there's also Jake's drumming, which I think is a very big characteristic of street play songs.
Thanks,
so,
man. That's really
no, of course. I'm just stating facts, really. And what I'm trying to figure out through this interview is how you guys write. And that kind of brings me into my other question concerning Lycanthropy and just street play songs in general. You know, especially with this new single, Lycanthropy, I noticed that the song has a very defined structure with designated, like there's a designated intro, there's an obvious transition in the songs, there's different crescendos, like you said, Jake, there's different highs and lows of the song. And
Yeah.
you know, did you guys go into the song and maybe what will eventually be the rest of this project, making sure you tried new things outside of that straight ahead punk and heavy rock structure, which Street Play is pretty much known for when it comes to like live shows, where it's just kind of verse, chorus? Not to say you guys do that, but I'm just saying, you know, that very like straight ahead, there's no really thought in how it's written. We just want people to like go out and bang their heads, smash into walls. Or was it more of a natural building process of like building one thing from one thing that was brought to the table and seeing that this other piece that someone had from a while ago fits into it, and then it kind of becomes like this one thing? Because with Lycanthropy, I noticed that this one definitely has like these one singular pieces and without the song that you can pull out and be like, oh, I'm talking about this part, I'm talking about this part, I'm talking about when Raz sings, I'm talking about when Jenna sings, I'm talking about when Jake hits the toms really hard and it like echoes throughout the whole song kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just want to comment. This is such a good question because like I really feel like now that you bring it up, it was kind of one of our first songs that we really took our time with, and literally it's a slower paced song than we're used to, and I think we did kind of take our time with it, and kind of, I mean, not that we haven't taken our time with other songs, it's just more of like we really wanted to focus in on the quality of each part of the song, like in the writing process. And I think it is a common theme with the next album. The songs are longer. Some are a little more complicated or technically complicated. Like Sirens, I used probably one pedal for the whole album. You know, this one, it's so much more experimental with our sounds. And so I think that's a great point to bring up, because I think we did take our time more with writing this one and the quality of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a great question because yeah, I feel like there is this new fangled thing that we keep coming back to, which is just like trying to make sure everything that we write has like a purpose and like does something significant for the song, but also that we like enjoy. Like there's no rules really of what it has to be. It doesn't have to be verse chorus verse chorus. If we want one verse and then the rest of it is just this outro, like this hard bang and outro part, like we can do that. And I think there's like a confidence that's been discovered in like trusting the part that you write and trusting that it doesn't have to happen like now, but things like can move and like evolve naturally just by like you accidentally hit a string or you accidentally hit a cymbal in a certain place or you sing a melody that like rises an octave, you know, like things just kind of have a tendency to shift and build on themselves in the writing process. Because yeah, the new record is a lot more I don't know, I think it's the goal of any band to try to make like your new record your best record, but I think, you know, like as we continue to grow and like age or whatever that means, like, and just like get older in the scene doing the things that we do, I think you naturally find things that are more you, and I think this record is the most us we've ever been.
That's always good to have.
Yeah.
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 Raz?
I think although Lycanthropy does have like a very, I think it does have sort of a traditional structure in that there's like an intro, transition, verse, chorus, etc., outro, whatever, breakdown, you know. I think on the records that we're planning, I think that we do get to experiment more, and I think there are more songs that are kind of more reminiscent of like Davy Jones on Sirens, which is like not necessarily just an interlude, but like something that doesn't necessarily have like a traditional structure, and I think that has been really cool to explore. But I think we're sort of like marrying the two together, where like we still have like, you know, the essence of like what street play has been, but also we're allowing ourselves to experiment more with like what's available to us. And like also, I mean, Sirens was our first album together, and so I think we were still like learning a lot in the process. And so I think taking what we learned from that, which also includes a lot of like aesthetics that we continue to use, I think we also are able to see what can come of that when like now that we're older and now that we understand more about like mixing and things like that and layering guitars and sound effects and etc, you know. But yeah, so I don't know, I think it's fun to have both aspects of it because we can do something that we're comfortable with in terms of songwriting, but also you know, see more possibilities and see what our sound can be, even with just the three of us, but like with new technology and stuff like that.
Loved new technology. Every year just gets better and better and more. You guys are actually helping me a lot with transitions on what I wanted to bring up, so thank you for that. Awesome. I don't want it to be like an awkward like cut to this, but you guys actually like did bring up what I wanted to talk about next. And so I just want to like kind of go back a little bit on my history with you guys. So as far as I remember, because Jenna, we always talk about this, you met me at my first Not So Bummer Summer, but I don't remember that. And then
I literally sang with you on stage.
I know, and there's a picture of it.
I know.
I just it was a blur to me on that night, but I know eventually I did meet you guys, and I claim that the first street play show I went to was what you guys titled was the SP Fest, because it was street play and then rest in peace Silent Partner, which was Jake's band before really coming into street play. So, you know, back then street play wasn't really what street play was now, or what it is now. But you guys still have the same name, which obviously why wouldn't you have the same name? But the reason why I bring that up is because way back when I was introduced to you guys, I saw that there was like this intention / like a connection for the band and like your guys' lifestyle to be like, this is what Los Angeles is, kind of leaning more towards like the essence of living in Venice. And that like included a lot of skating, graffiti, and this like kind of fuck death, we're alive and well kind of vibes, you know, like a very youthful energy. And personally, I always saw the band, especially once Jake joined officially, I always saw this band as a little more like dark and angsty. And I guess you could say it was more like alleyway dwellers who just have had it with society kind of things.
Yeah.
When you joined, I felt it feel more angsty, dark, and like it wasn't like all about living in Venice and like skating and like putting your name up on a wall kind of thing. And that's just like personally what I've thought when I saw you guys dwell or like dive into more of what you are today. So I just, you know, would you guys say that the band has kind of moved on into a new aesthetic where street play isn't associated with like skateboarding and like the Venice lifestyle, especially with this new project? Or is it more just kind of like a more chilled, laid back connection to what the band is and it's always going to be who you guys are?
Yeah, I mean, Jenna and I were actually having like a great conversation about like looking back on like old photos of you like in high school and stuff like that.
Wait,
like
me? Oh no. Okay, I was about to say like why are you talking about me like that?
Old Sam pictures. But like, you know, when one looks at their own, you know, old photos of themselves, and just how that can kind of be like a jarring experience and like can make you feel really self-conscious or like cringy or just like kind of like gross and embarrassed secondhand for some reason. And you know, I think in a lot of ways like bands can get that way, like you can be like, oh, why do we do that, like that kind of sucks. But I think with us, like, you know, you just take on different things and put them in your arsenal. Like I think we still have those mentalities of like loving being around Venice and like skateboarding and hanging out at the beach and like drinking 40s in an alleyway. Like we have that, like that's a big thing, but there's also more, like things just kind of get refined and like eventually you just start stacking things on top of each other to where you know, it'd be impossible to pick out one thing that could properly define where you're at right now. But you still have this Rolodex. You can be like, yeah, we did that. Like there's an endless amount of things that can define you. So yeah, I kind of felt the shift when I joined. Like I felt like we kind of moved in a different direction, but it was a direction I was happy to go in, because like I saw their first show like ever at the Whiskey, and I was like immediately like, oh shit, like there's a lot of potential here. Like it was awesome to behold, like to watch like their relationship on stage, like how they interact with each other. And I was like, wow, that seems like a really fun band to be in, because it was completely opposite from the traditions I had come from. Like I had always wanted, you know, to rehearse in a garage and like just like hang out, you know, but I was always like in a studio, like paying for it. And I was like always tripping about that. So when I finally joined, I was like, oh, like there's this whole other experience you can have, like songwriting. Like I'm like watching them come up with lyrics on the spot. And I can also like be like, hey, what if we do this? You know, like it's and it's fun to like give and receive influence in that way. So yeah, it was awesome. Happy.
Yeah, I feel like and it's just like Jake said, like it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, and it's something I feel like pretty proud of with us, is how much we're always evolving, always changing, and it's still just as much of a part of us, just like those old high school photos. Like that person is still a part of you, even if it's just like this much, like you know, that's still where we came from, and it's still something we hold really dear to us. But it doesn't mean that street play can't be, you know, werewolves and mermaids. Like it's whatever anyone wants it to be. I mean, sometimes we will just see something and be like, that is so street play. Like, but it's not like a you know, a labeled aesthetic. Yeah.
We saw like SP on a bunch of lumber. We were at home. We saw SP and we were like, that's us.
That's street play.
It's like it's wood.
I mean, anything, right? Like Jenna said, anything you see, if it relates to you, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Raz, did you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, kind of. I think, yeah, I actually was thinking about that recently. Like, I mean, I guess just because we have like releases coming and things like that, and we're kind of in like a sort of transition, I guess, like probably like street play like 3.0 or 4.0 or something like that. And I think on some levels, like I do feel very distanced from, like, you know, when I was like 14 and we were like writing songs and like I don't know, skating around like the boardwalk and stuff like that. But like, I mean, it is really like a part of you though. Like no matter, I mean, we might grow up away from it, and I think that that's a very important thing to do, both as an artist and as a person. But I do think it's also nice to like honor it in its own way. You know what I mean? I think street play as a name, I think it's been cool to keep it mostly for the like continuity or something like that. You know what I mean? I feel like people can know us for a long time, and like, you know, I think a lot of people in LA have like I don't know, like some of them might have seen us at the Whiskey, which is like ancient, and then you know, some of us might have seen us in like 2017 at like the Lyric Hyperion or something like that, and then like some people might have seen us like right before we stopped like playing shows for the pandemic, which would be like, I don't know, at the Smell or a house show or something like that, you know. And so, you know, it's kind of nice to have this like journey under the same name and stuff, and like have it be redefined with each direction that we choose to go in, and each experimental stage we need to experience, you know.
Yeah.
So you all bring in like really good reflection points, which thinking about street play as a whole, from when I first knew you to then listening to this new single, the definition for me of street play kind of changed. And when I first was introduced to you guys as a band, street play was like Oh, like, well, especially because your merch had that, like, the caution sign with the skater on it. It was very, like, self-evident in what you were going for with that name. And I think, did one of you say, like, you saw, like, something related to, like, kids street play or something like that? Like, one of you told me that story, right? That you saw, like, the words street play and it was related to, like, kids playing around or something?
I,
Was,
I
am I
was
just
that?
fucking myself up?
No, I feel like I remember that. It might have been a long
Yeah.
time ago, so maybe I'm blanking, but
I know we had like listed out a lot of names, and street play had definitely popped out to us. It was just kind of that thing that felt good in your mouth. You're like, street play, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
street play.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, cool. Because I
yeah,
just remember when I bought the windbreaker that you guys used to have
yeah.
that is like old merch now, all of a sudden. Ooh, vintage.
Ooh.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. No, I just remember like I knew that name of a band was like a particular kind of taste. And now, you know, you guys are about to start your new project. And for me personally, like I said, it has changed into what it is. And I basically did give you my definition, what I believe street play to be. I mean, you know, like you guys have said, it changes for everyone and whatever you believe is the aesthetic for the band, so on and so forth. But with this new project coming out, I don't know if it's just me, but um, it seems like bands always use their quote unquote like next project as a way to like do one of two things. It's like either strengthen their identity as a band or completely reinvent themselves. Do you guys think that this second release of this band should be treated as like a reinvention, or is it just a strengthening of the band? And on top of that, do you think that second projects should be treated in such a way to where people need to see it as a make it or break it kind of stress, where you're reinventing that identity or you're just strengthening it? Because I feel like a lot of people do put a lot of pressure on those sophomore releases to where this is like the band in one way or they're just changing it up another way.
Mm.
I think that's a great question, because it is a thing. Like the sophomore album can be very make or break. I think in a more mainstream market, like for bands who like popped off on the first record and it's like, okay, what's next, you know?
Mm.
So for us, I think more or less a reinvention sounds like we threw away the mold. But I think more or less we just added other things to the mold, you know? Like I just think about some of the concepts and like the songs, like we have like one song that's like 5 minutes of like mostly the same drum beat, but it has like this like undeniable groove to it and like a pulse, you know, like, and I don't think Sirens Street Play would have done something like that. I think we've kind of become more comfortable in our own skin and like allowing things to just kind of go the way that we think they could, or the way we imagine it could, you know, like I don't think there's a lot of pressure for us to have to like create Sirens too, you know, like very happy, at least for me, like I'm very happy to say like that was that record and this is a new thing. Like there's other playing pieces now. Like we can kind of like have a different experience, and then you can expect something different. Like there's just new things just kind of get thrown into the mix, and I think that's what makes being in a band fun and makes being a fan of an artist fun. Like being like, oh shit, like they did, like that song's really different. Like I wouldn't have heard that on the last one. And you're like, oh man, like what are they gonna do on the next one? Like it kind of just strings you along for the ride. And I think that's really fun to do to people.
Yeah, totally. Anyone have anything to add?
I think maybe like with the strengthening the identity part, I think although we're not doing the exact same thing, I think we're, perhaps maybe you guys agree, like strengthening certain aspects of the first album. Like we're taking from the first album with like, whether it be like styles of songwriting or I don't know, like thematic motifs, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're kind of like taking what still resonates with us from that and strengthening it in a new way, like in the new album, in a way that is probably more mature, I would say. And I think like our influences have definitely changed for this new album too. So we're probably reinventing ourselves. in a way that I think like makes it more like dynamic in some ways. So I mean, I hate to be like a mix of both, but I feel like it's a mix of both.
Right. Jenna?
Yeah, I feel like both of them said, there are elements of Sirens in it that we are strengthening. But I think it also was a very natural process. I think we more focused on what we personally wanted to release and what would satisfy our artistic need, like to share. And I think that naturally kind of happened with this album, and taking our time with it, taking it more seriously, and not rushing ourselves. It kind of naturally did strengthen us as a band and us as performers and writers. So yeah, I don't think it's like necessarily a whole completely reinvention, especially because some of the songs we have been playing, like Lycanthropy, we've been playing for a year or more. So there are elements of, old street play, but yeah, just like our name, like always reinventing, always changing. Yeah.
I like that. And it's eventually going to come out, whether it's after this interview, before this interview, the song will be out. And so moving forward, since we're now in 2021, shows don't really have like many solid indications of when they're going to come back. We don't know when live performances, and I mean real live performances, are coming back, and that's especially for smaller venue bands. Do you guys have any plans on what to do to keep the momentum up in terms of giving fans new material and having a way to build the band more? So, since we can't rely on shows to be where we build new fans, do you guys have this game plan to kind of keep pushing the name Street Play out to people and making sure that it's not something that people will just have to wait until like 2023 to see?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been working on new and creative ways to engage, whether it be single releases or even just sharing like new stuff we've been writing. We recently just worked on a music video for a Siren song.
Okay.
With Bowie Next Productions, which we're really excited about, but we won't say which song.
No worries.
So I think, yeah, and just trying to do what we can, especially visually. It was really satisfying to be able to portray this feeling and experience of street play through visuals, and we're really grateful we got to do that. So I guess in the near future, that's a way that we would like to engage and keep sharing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Yeah, just like going off of that, I think another thing that the pandemic has brought, that's like for the community, that, or something that we've been able to gain in light of everything that's been happening. I think we have been able to focus more, like what I was saying about songwriting. We've also been able to focus on like visual aesthetics and things like that, which has been great, because I think sometimes you can get into like a vortex of like, oh, we have to practice for the show, and like we have to have the song ready for a show, and like whatever, we'll just like put out a random picture, like, you know what I mean? Like I think it's a lot more deliberate. And so especially with things like music videos, like I think that that's a really great way to like further explore a song, like visually and like in a new way. So yeah.
I think it's a really great way also for us, like it is a new way for us to engage, but I think also it's a great way for us to learn about stuff. Like being on the set of the music video was amazing to like learn like how to do something well and like not have to compromise much. Like maybe it's going to spoil us for the future, but I remember just like constantly being like, well, okay, that's really cool, like that's what we have to do, and have fun with it, and like be creative in so many other ways besides just like music was almost like secondary to what we were doing, like at that time. So it was fun to express the creative muscle in a different way. But in terms of outreach, I think kind of like a mix of what Raz and Jenna have both said, is like I think we've had a lot more time to refine what our output is to the point where I think like live it'll be a lot more, I think, true to like what we actually want it to sound like because we haven't had to compromise to like put it out for a show or to kind of like rush ourselves. Like we really have been able to just like sit on stuff and work on it until we're like, that's really cool, and then think of new parts that completely like change your perception of the song, that make you holistically excited for the entire thing and for the whole like project for that matter.
You know, you guys are, I love you guys so much because you're just helping me with my last tack on question for this bigger whole question is, do you guys have any reflections on how this new like lifestyle of being in a music scene is affecting people? So with a lot of bands, I've been talking with a lot of our friends, and, you know, we all have to figure out how to do different things now to promote ourselves. So whether that be doing new merch, doing new song releases, doing new music videos, you know, it's stuff outside of just playing music that we have to focus on business wise. And as local bands, we don't really have someone to do that for us. So it's like you guys are your own business managers and your own business holders. So, you know, if you have anything to add on to what I originally asked, do you guys have any reflections on how this is basically making us all now think outside of just playing music? Like we have to think about other stuff now.
I actually, if I may,
Yeah.
I was literally thinking about that today, and I was thinking that I wanted to like actually say this in the interview. So thanks for asking this question.
Yeah.
I washed my hair today because it's wash day, and I was thinking to myself that like that I think it's so incredible that like honestly anything you want to do, you can do it yourself. Like everything that we have done as a band has been DIY. And everything in the music scene practically is DIY. Not So Bummer Summer is DIY, and Not-So Impromptu Interviews are. And I was thinking how there are so many young artists today who I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, but I need this camera, like, oh, but I need this type of like instrument or whatever. But it's like totally not true. Like you can record at your homie's place and you can play a show in your garage, and you can like rent a camera or get a disposable from CVS or something like that, and like raise money by like making songs for people or like making your own shirts. And like I just think it's so beautiful that like we all encourage each other in this way, and like people just want to support one another with whatever talents they have, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to say, I was like, I feel like if there's like any like, I don't know, younger people watching this, like if I was 14 watching this, I would really want to know that like you can do everything you want yourself. Like just YouTube it, like just ask your homies, like you can do it. And it's a great experience too because it brings people together. And I feel like all the projects that we've done as a band have been like really conducive for our own creativity and like for friendship and everything together. So yeah, it's great.
Anyone else until I have the last few questions?
I wanted to say, kind of going back to the last question also, like I feel like this time to reflect and to focus on, I mean, even reminisce on shows that we've played before, I think has given us room to kind of make the space and the scene better and safer as we can. And I think having this time, we've definitely been trying to collaborate and like start a conversation with other bands, other artists, collectives, or just people in the scene, like to make it a safer place and more welcoming, you know, whether that be for women, BIPOC, or non-binary, or, you know, people with disabilities, like, and I'm really grateful for that because I think hopefully when we go back into the scene, we'll have new resources and new opportunities to make it better. So yeah.
Jake, you good?
Yeah, all good.
Cool.
I'm just
Cool.
I like just listening
sometimes. No, you're good. I just want to make sure I don't move on before you have anything to say, but I just have a couple more questions. These aren't very serious questions because I feel like with video interviews, it's good to have personality thrown in that's not about your music per se. And, that's what people are looking for sometimes. Yeah, no, like, I'm serious. It's like sometimes you'd want to see videos of your favorite bands not talk about music. So I just have like a couple 3 questions that's just like kind of throwaway. Don't worry about it. It's not serious kind of thing, but I think it's kind of fun to think about. Like I said, I'm terrible with due dates and finishing interviews when it comes to editing. So I'm assuming this interview is probably going to be released closer to Valentine's Day. So just off the top of your head, if you can't think of it, that's fine. I just thought of this when thinking about questions for you guys. Can you come up with any lines, ideas, puns that could probably be used for like a street play Valentine's Day gram? I thought of 2 if you need inspiration, but if you'd rather me not say so you can think of it yourself, I'll leave it.
Are you recording this and gonna post it, or is this like for you?
This is part of the interview.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if it. Okay.
I wouldn't ask this question if it wasn't for the interview.
No, I was like, I thought you were saying like, oh, for like a poster for the interview or something. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I mean, if you don't want to answer, that's cool too.
No, I do. I was just curious, like, if this was, sorry. I thought you were saying like, oh.
No, I just like wanted to ask a fun question versus just serious business stuff. I can give you the 2 I thought of at like 3 o'clock in the morning when I thought of this question, if you want.
Mine are just really bad. I can't.
Yeah, mine are bad too, but isn't that the point of Valentine's Day grams?
That is true.
Yeah.
Here, I'll tell you mine, and that way it'll give you courage to say yours. Yeah, so mine was, don't tell your mama, but I think I have a crush on you.
That's boom. Good. That's good.
Thank you.
Like that.
And the other one is, on this Valentine's Day, I'd like to watch you drive, winky face.
That's really good. Those are really good.
Those are great.
That's called sleep deprivation, baby.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you guys could just think off the dome? If not, it's fine. It's like a random question.
You could do like
gross.
Like
it could be gross.
Like, I'm not gonna street play you this Valentine. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I see it. I see the vision.
Like street play with my emotion.
The vision.
Yeah, see, it's a group effort when you gotta think of these things. They don't just come up with them on the spot.
Like, she's not for the streets, but she wants to play. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're like, I only know my band name. I'm only gonna use my band
I know.
name.
Yeah, I'm like looking through the Spotify right now.
Nah. You're like, what are our song titles, dude?
What are ours?
Yeah.
I couldn't even do the like lyric-based ones because I couldn't figure out the lyrics in time.
I know. Like, is my love getting too heavy, baby?
Or like, yeah.
I see the vision, Jenna. You're there. You see, I see it. Yeah. Jake, do you see something yet?
I don't know. I just keep going through ideas with 6 feet deep, but they're all gross. So
do it.
You
have to now.
Perfect, but not worthless.
That's good.
Okay, I was about to do something like that, but I didn't want to touch that song in case it was like too touchy of a subject.
Too touchy, no.
Man, I didn't want to touch that myself. Yeah. Jake, go ahead. You got to say it now. You've been building us up on it.
Well, I was saying like,
you got it now.
Like, I want to be 6 feet deep in you this Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
My man.
Or like 6 feet does not sound comfortable. So I thought,
hey man, sometimes you can't control that. Oh God. All right. Well, anyways, we're gonna move on to the second last question after that one. What a great transition, Jake. Thank you for that one.
I'm gonna like later on, like
I'm gonna
be like, oh, I know.
You know what? Basically, I asked you that question so you have something to post on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just like send you guys pictures to like edit and all that shit. So okay, this whole interview was kind of based on the fact that Lycanthropy is going to be coming out soon. So going back to that werewolf theme of Lycanthropy, I noticed the entertainment industry, like movies and TV shows and books, have pretty much bashed in the romancing of like vampires. And then there was that like weird short period of like zombies. Like, remember that movie Warm Bodies? But rarely has there really been romance pinned on for werewolves. It's always been werewolves are just like the fucked up people, like other than maybe like the teen movies like Teen Wolf and like
Teen Wolf went pretty hard.
Right, but you know what I mean? But it was always like teen based. It was never like outside of that. So I just like, I want to know, is there a chance for Werewolves to be like that new blend of romance horror, or do you think they should just be untouched, leave them as scary as possible, don't make them fall in love, don't make that aspect touch what werewolves are?
I feel like
if they do make a movie, they should have Lycanthropy be the soundtrack.
yes.
I'm just saying.
If you learn anything from this song, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
That's fair game. That's fair game.
Wait, low-key, when I was like writing the song, some of the visuals I had was there was like a little Bo, not Little Bo Peep, what's Red Riding Hood. There's a Red Riding Hood movie that came out. What was that
with Amanda
called?
Seyfried?
Hoodwinked? Wait, no, that's like from 2005. My bad.
That is a good movie.
Bro, I just pulled that out of my head.
What a banger.
That movie is like ingrained in my psyche. Like I relate too many things to Hoodwinked.
I thought you were talking about that movie.
No,
I haven't thought about that movie in 10 years.
It's with like, I want to say the girl, like one of the girls from Mean Girls is in it or something like that.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried.
Is that her name? Okay, sorry, I don't know names, but yeah, she was in a werewolf movie.
Was it like romance? Like
it was
Twilight?
like a whodunit. It was like they were trying to figure out who the wolf was in the village. It was actually kind of cool.
And then it was
I gotta see
dad,
this.
Right? That was like that kind of like fucked me up as a kid. Low-key. It was kind of intense.
Because she like thought it was like there was like she had like two lovers basically, and she was like, which one of them is the wolf? Because like one of them because he's like coming after me, so one of them's got to be the wolf.
Was she the wolf?
No, her dad was the wolf.
Yeah, Shakira.
Spoiler alert.
I think she heard something. But
it was really sad though. I remember being like really uncomfortable.
I think the thing that's most tragic about werewolves though is that like always in stories, like very rarely do they choose to be werewolves. Like it's like a curse, you know, it's always like the curse and stuff. Like even vampires are sometimes like, yeah, this is dope. Like I'm having a great time. But very rarely are werewolves like, yeah, I love breaking all my bones like 2 times a month.
Oh yeah, that's
awesome.
yeah. I didn't think about that part. And do you have no control of when it comes on kind of jam?
Yeah. And also it's dependent on like what mythology you're going with. Like if you're going with like the more like native side where it's just like the physical transformation into like a cute pup, you know, then that's kind of cool. But if you're just like a huge like snarling beast, that's like a little less easily romanticized, I feel like.
I didn't think about it for a second. Was it like Beauty and the Beast technically like a werewolf romance?
Technically,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's a curse.
Yeah.
And he had no control over it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did no one point this out before?
No.
Like,
but
he's like a wolf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
he's got like horns.
Okay, like semantics, Jake, but like right? But like, you know, like that when I thought about that question, I was like, isn't Beauty and the Beast technically a werewolf romance story?
I mean,
he's like stuck wolf.
I always imagined like the werewolf from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
And his relationship with Tonks. Like, the way that they nurture each other and their own like weaknesses. And so yeah, I always like imagine them.
That is so sweet.
So there is a possibility, is what we're kind of all consenting on. Like, but it should
100%.
Yeah, like they shouldn't just be left in the dark as like the scary, untouchable creature of the dark. Like they can find love, right?
Yeah.
Or
like
maybe not.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe you'll have to listen to this song to figure out that maybe you shouldn't fall in love with someone who's turning into a werewolf.
Unless you can turn into a werewolf as well. I think 2 werewolves together, like it could be like chain me, babe. Like
you don't think that's like a little too much toxicity in the relationship?
BDSM is not toxic if it is consensual.
Oh, I wasn't talking about BDSM. I was talking about
saying
2 werewolves.
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty.
It's a party, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it like what we do in the shadows?
Yeah.
Like werewolves, not swearwolves. I feel like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Them. That movie is genius.
So good.
We care about werewolves in this party.
We do.
My last question for you guys. Sticking with movies, sticking with horror movies, because you guys did admit that you are horror fans, and Raz, you already pinpointed that you would like Lycanthropy to be in a werewolf horror movie. So I'd like to know, if it hasn't been made already, is there a horror movie that you guys would like to have Street Play do the soundtrack for? It could already have been made. It could be in the works. And if so, what direction of sound would you like to go in?
There's so many.
Go off. Just do it off the dome.
Ooh. Okay. Well, like the most recent one I can think of, we watched Gretel and Hansel, which is like a new take on Hansel and Gretel, and I feel like it's a terrifying movie, and I think it's so street play. Like I think we could totally be in that soundtrack if it were like a modern like rock soundtrack.
Could be.
It totally could be.
I feel like, yeah, the movie would have to be like more in that vein where it's not like a ghost story. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we don't have any songs about ghosts, right?
Isn't Davy Jones a ghost?
Yeah.
We have the ghost intro.
We do have ghosts.
It's literally a ghost talking.
That's true.
I'm thinking we could probably do a pretty good soundtrack for like Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Perfect, like
the new one?
In the Evil Dead.
Yeah, and like Ash. Yeah, we could. The new one was a little too like actual like good horror to do,
So
but
good.
I think the original, like either that one or Evil Dead 2 or even like Army of Darkness, I think we could totally rock a soundtrack to that, because it's like I think it would be really fun to like camp it up like that, to be like while he's like chainsawing people. I think it would be really fun, and it would also be fun to do like kind of like how the intro of Lycanthropy is kind of like haunting a little bit, like for like the shots when they're like trailing through the forest, you know, like
he had this thought out.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I'm thinking about it.
You already were prepared for this question.
I feel like if American Horror Story did like a season where they were like in bands.
Oh my god!
I don't know.
Watch the shit out of that.
We should bring that in, being like effects. We got some money ideas, baby.
I think it would be really like any supernatural horror. I don't think I don't think we could fit into the serial killer horror. Because we don't romanticize serial killers.
No, we do not.
Teeth puncture lust a little bit though.
I was
6 feet deep.
That song for Teeth Puncture Lust, there's a scene in Blade, like the first Blade movie with Wesley Snipes, where he's in like a rave, like everyone's raving, and then all of a sudden the sprinklers come on, but the sprinklers are blood, and everyone's vampires, and they're like raving in this blood rain. Yeah, it's dope. So
that's street play.
Imagine that in there. That is pretty
street play.
I only brought that question up because it's odd that in early 2000s there were like horror movies that had the most odd soundtracks.
Oh my god, yes.
I don't know if you know this movie, but Queen of the Damned, vampire
movie. Love that movie, dude.
It has such a good soundtrack, but it makes absolutely no sense to have those bands on that soundtrack.
How like Deftones is in
exactly.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Exactly. And
but
then
if
you look
sick.
You get it. That's why I brought it up. And then if you look at like Freddy versus Jason, there's like random rock songs on there. It makes no sense at all.
But we love it, Sam.
Right. That's what I was saying. I was, if I was asked that question for street play, I actually would have put you guys in Scream.
Okay.
Honest.
I was just thinking that. That's actually
just because it's like a take on horror that's like teens and they like don't really care about what's going on, but it's like that whole idea of horror movies influence life.
Yes.
And so when you guys said that, you were inspired by like those kinds of movies, I was like, oh yeah, like Scream would make sense for you guys because it's such a play on horror movies, but it's also like teens not giving a fuck.
And I feel like our music is like, at least the songs that are very like horror driven, I think are very like self-aware, on a certain level, like with the like whoever's narrating it or whatever. And like Scream is like the most self-aware horror movie like ever, because that was what they wanted to do. And so that's perfect, honestly. I think that'd be so cool. But which
no, go. What were you saying?
Which Scream? The first one?
Probably the original one.
Oh, God.
I don't know why we would choose any other Scream movies, but I mean, like, come on now, that twist at the end is like, I would love to see like Jake being like, you know what, man, you just gotta shoot me right in the chest, man. Just do it, man. I could do it. He's like, oh man, I'm like really bleeding a lot, man. Like
dying,
dying,
yeah. My parents are gonna kill me, man.
Oh God.
And then that's when like I like to watch you drive starts.
Oh yeah.
I almost feel like one of our songs was inspired by Carnival of the Souls. I know I wrote a song for the new album inspired by The Lighthouse. Raz wrote one sort of inspired by The Witch.
The one with the two V's.
Yes.
The A24.
With Robert Eggers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going for a more A24, like not really like we're outside of the genre now, baby. Like we popping heads on light poles, not to give anything away on a certain movie.
I was gonna say like maybe, or I was thinking about Ari Aster films, but honestly, the soundtracks to his films are always perfect. Like really I don't think we could ever. It has to
all
be.
All of his movies fuck me up, dude.
They're like, oh my God.
So we're gonna say street plays for Ari Aster movies only. Then we're just that's what we're gonna say.
Robert Eggers.
Okay.
Ari Aster has one lock. So.
Or shit, you guys could do that one Nightmare on Elm Street movie where it like broke the fourth wall, where like Freddy was like in the. Did you guys see that one? It was like the fourth one. He's like in real life there. That makes sense. And then you could be like in a dream sequence. I could hear fucking Teeth Punctured Lust in a dream sequence.
Isn't there a band playing in the Lost Boys, or what is it called?
Oh, you guys could do Lost Boys. Yeah.
We could be that really corny 80s band.
I don't know about 80s band, but maybe let's say 90s for you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think Jake's got the hair for it. You guys do, but Jake needs to grow his hair out a little bit more.
I'll just get a clip-on mullet like Kiefer Sutherland has in that one. I just want to be in the movie. Fuck a soundtrack. Just make me one of the vampires.
For real.
You already are one of the vampires, dog. You dress like it. All right, so do you guys have anything else to add? Anything you want to let people know? Anything you want to throw out there? Anything you want to let people know is going on? Now's the chance.
Listen to Lycanthropy on the first full moon of 2021.
What's the date?
It's January 28th.
Yeah.
My girl's out here like, I know when the first full moon's happening, but don't ask me what day in particular.
I gotta look at my calendar, but yeah, it's the 28th.
All right.
We also
January 28th.
And stay tuned for stuff that's coming.
Where can people find you?
All social medias, pretty much. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
TikTok.
Oh, you guys have a TikTok. You guys have a TikTok?
Oh my God, we do have a TikTok. I forgot. I'm so sorry, I forgot. Yes, on TikTok as well. We're working on it.
We're babies on
We're trying to see what you kids do these days.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out one day, right?
Yeah, so hit us up. Talk to us. Tell us what you want. Maybe.
What you really want.
I don't know. Yeah. We're around. I guess social media these days. I would say a show, but haven't had one of those in a minute.
Maybe in 2 years, we'll see.
Maybe in 2 years, we'll see.
Yeah, I already know we're probably going to see each other for the first time in an alleyway, like a dark, stanky alleyway. Wow, it's the only way I probably would see you guys.
So true.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I want to say thank you for doing this. Thank you for your great questions and for putting it all out there. I appreciate you. And hopefully everyone will listen to the new song now, whether it's after or before this interview, whenever I get it done. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you so much.
We really appreciate really thoughtful questions.
Appreciate you guys.